Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with another Narrative Pro series, specifically with the inventory system. So we are going to be modifying quite a bit. Let me close these right here because we do not need them. We will be modifying quite a bit of things here, um, just for the sake of teaching and showing um, how things work. Now, there's we're going to be going into a gameplay effect. Uh, do feel free to follow along. However, I would recommend making your own for the future, um, simply because you don't want to lose the information that you create. Me wanting to save time and just prove that it works, I just modified what is there. When I update, it'll obviously be gone, but for me, that doesn't matter. Because I'll be changing a lot about stats and attributes and things like that when I get into the gas part of things. So that means we need to come in here to the equipment mod GE. You can search for it and open it up. You will, I think, only see 3 of these. I could be wrong. There could be more of them. I can't remember how many are actually showing up. Um, you may actually see 4 of them, 0 through 3. For me, I have max health and health added here. I'm going to show you what you need to do. So come in here into modifiers, hit the plus sign. We're going to open up the 4. Come here to right here. You're not going to see max health. You'll see none. And find max health. Keep this base as add. And then for the magnitude calculation type, we're going to do set by collar. So set by collar means set this by whatever is holding on to it, instead of setting it up directly here within the mod. Next thing we want to do is we want to choose a data tag, set by collar, period, max health. So just click on it and find it, and that's all you need to do. Do it again for health. Once you've done that, make sure you compile and save, and we'll come back in here. The next thing we need to do is we need to create a function. This function that we see right here, we need to create a function within a function library. For those of you who are brand new, function libraries is essentially a library of functions. Wow, that was a really roundabout way of saying those things. That can be accessed anywhere. It doesn't need to be attached to a blueprint like an interface or anything like that. It'll just automatically those functions will always show up for you. What's important to note about them is they can't house variables. No variables allowed. Uh, it's there for you to grab information, make changes within that function if you need to, and spit out information. But you cannot, no variables, nothing. So, in order to create one, you'll want to right click, come to blueprints, blueprint function library. Once you've created your function library and opened it up, we'll need to add a function. So, if you come here, you can obviously get local variables. Don't mess around with it too much. I'm utilizing it in a very specific way to get information more easily. And the reason that I'm doing this is because this function will wind up being not only in the clothing master, but would wind up in the equipment, in the gameplay effect, in the magic weapon, in the melee weapon, in the ranged weapon, and in the weapon master. Now, because none of these share the same initial parent, obviously they all come from like their great 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 grandparent, however many it comes down to. But because we don't want to go into the C++, we need this function to be able to easily make this change without having to pull these 3 nodes every single time. So in the input here, we want to grab an input of type narrative inventory, and I named it owning inventory. And we have here, we're getting the player state because this gives us the pawn, the owning pawn, and we want the player state. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, what about for the NPCs? Well, we can do that too. So I'll go ahead and bring this down and then copy and paste. I'll plug that in right there. We'll go over that in a second. Once we have that, we want to pull into here and what's what I'm looking for? Once we pull out, we want to get owning pawn. This is a narrative thing. This will get us whoever owns the inventory. Now, obviously, if it's the player, it's search for the function searches for if it's the player, then it's going to grab the player states to get the inventory. Now, just to be safe, because I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't think about testing it until just now, I pulled out the player state. So if you don't want to, you want to see if it works, fantastic. Otherwise, the next thing you'll want to do is pull out the player state. And after you've pulled out the player state, you'll want to pull out a function get ability system component. This comes from its own function library for the gameplay ability system. So it'll search that actor for it. The next thing we want to do is we're going to create another one of these. Ability system component. I'm going to name this NPC ability system component. Now I'm doing this that way I don't have to reutilize, I don't have to make a second function that does the exact same thing, but only for the NPC. It's just two birds, one stone. For me, it makes sense. So once we have this all set up, compile and save it, let's go back to our clothing master, which is where we are doing this. So now we create this function. You can name it whatever you want. I made it a function that way if I needed to make additional changes in the future, it's very easy to do when it comes to doing it on the children. I can just access the children, make sure the parent is the parent functionality is set up, and then do my additional coding. Once you've created this function, go ahead and open it up. And you'll see here, we've got a couple of things that we need to do. So first we need to get owning inventory. So if you type get owning inventory, you'll have it right there. Once you've done that, plug that in right there. And it's going to do all the information for us and give us the ability system component. Once you've done that, pull out of the ability system component and type update active gameplay effect set by color magnitudes. You know what? Now I'm going to pause right here real quick and make a change if we need to. Sorry, as I was working out with you guys, I realized that this would create a problem when it comes to the NPCs. So I went ahead and checked it for us real quick. So we don't need to get the player state. We don't need this NPC one. This will work as is. Fantastic. Now then, as I was saying, we will now want to get the update active gameplay effect set by color magnitudes. Once we've done that, we need to get the handle and create a new variable. So this handle is important, and if you've messed with timers before, it's very similar. The handle is created whenever a gameplay effect is applied to a character. Well, it's not necessarily created. It allows you to create one. If I come up here, gameplay effect. Let's see. Apply gameplay effect spec to self. Here you go. Here's where you create the handle. So this is what was created in C++. We are using that handle to make an update so that there doesn't have to be two of the same. What's what I'm looking for? Two of the same gameplay effect, there we go, from one item on there. We can instead look for it, update it, and we're good to go, which is what we're doing. So now we need to pull out of here, and you need to promote to variable. Name it whatever you want, but this houses the gameplay tags, and then this houses the tag and value that we want attached to it. So for me, I did max health, health, and attack damage. Attack damage I made 20, and then 50 and 50. Honestly, I just did it to make sure that everything continued to work. So went ahead and saved that. Now, just so that you guys remember, that's where this is right here. So set by caller dot max health. Set by caller dot max health. This is important to make sure you have. So now that we have this all set up, everything is good to go and should be working. We just need to, do a couple other things. Sorry, my brain wasn't wanting to work. We need to override two functions. The first one being activated. So come over here to override and search for activated. Make sure you get the parent and activate it. Next thing we need to do is come over here to class defaults. And over here on the right, you'll see UI. We don't need to worry about the item widget override. But what we do need to do is create a new array item of a string. And it's going to be maximum space health. The string variable will be max health. And then the stat tooltip, I just said, duh, really, question mark. Once you have this set up for the UI stat stuff, come over here to override and search for get string variable. Now, this function was a little confusing for me for a bit, but I did eventually figure it all out because the tooltip isn't 100% clear on what to do with, the information that's already been pulled due to C++, or what to do otherwise. However, we have seen something similar to this when we were doing dialogue, and that's what we're doing here. So pull out a variable name, and you're going to search for switch on string. Now, once you've done that, you'll have defaults. Plug that into the return node and make sure that you plug in the get string variable parent and plug that stuff in. That way we're good to go. Everything that's been made in the past will continue as it's supposed to. Now we need the max health. Max health right there is max health right here. So you need to make sure that these match. Finally, we want to pull out our variable, search for find. We want the max health because we are doing max health. And we need to pull out the return value for an append node so that we get the plus so that the player knows that it's adding, because you can put a negative in there if you wanted to. And then 50. Obviously, if you're doing a negative, it's going to show negative 50 because you will have typed negative 50 here. With that information, we have it all plugged in. Compile and save. Make sure you put it in your chest or put it in your inventory, however you want to. Just verify that it works. And as you can see, I got 150 health. Unequip, 100 health. Look at the attack bonus, 10, 0. So it is doing its thing. If we come over here to max health, duh, really. So it is 100% working. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you guys learned quite a bit here on how the system works. And I hope this gives you guys a little bit more understanding of how GAS is set up in this project for the future. As GAS itself will be a very long, extensive part of the subject. In the next episode, I will show you the one final thing that I showed off in the last episode, which was creating our own drop down here from a very cheap plugin that I promise you is well worth it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.